That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet, when you could not prove anyone right or wrong.
All the expertise was contained in the people involved with the conversation. I'm Peter.
I'm Cecil, and I hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, that don't sound right, send us a comment. You're one of us. Most of us have been on a snipe hunt at some point, on both sides.
That's right. And the other thing, so to go along with that, is the smoke shifter. Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're your co-hosts. I'm Peter Billman.
I'm Cecil Davis.
Hey, Cecil Davis. Let's have a conversation. Let's not Google. Let's not fact check. Let's see if what you and I think, we can come to agreement or at least talk through it.
Yes.
And I didn't say intelligently.
Well, last week I learned a lot.
Did you?
About DEF. And you don't have to say DEF fluid because that's redundant.
That's redundant. It's like
DEF.
saying, right, it's just DEF.
Diesel emission.
Diesel exhaust fluid.
Diesel exhaust
Interestingly enough, in Europe it's called AdBlue. AD-BLUE.
Oh, you know what? That reminds me of something.
Tell me.
That I meant to ask last week.
What's that?
So you can buy road diesel, which is taxed.
Yes.
And farm diesel.
Correct.
Which is not taxed.
Right.
Now, is it true that one of them has a tint to it so you can tell whether you can look in the tank and say, oh, that's road diesel?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
The which is it? I think it's the untaxed that is dyed red.
So if you looked in a tank and saw that they were running red diesel.
Yeah, they didn't pay road tax on it, and
right.
You're going to get a fine. Big
Will
time.
they check that when they pull you over?
Yeah.
Just shine a light in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll look.
Pull that? I didn't know it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I knew it was dyed, but that's why.
Yeah.
Don't run. There's our words of wisdom already.
Last week, that's right. Don't run farm diesel in your car.
Yeah. All right. So this week we are going to talk about an old tradition or two old traditions.
Maybe even three now that I think about
maybe
it.
even three. So snipe hunting.
Yeah.
Cow tipping. What's the third one?
Oh, left-handed smoke shifters.
Left-handed smoke shifters. We might even throw in a cabinet stretcher or a counter stretcher.
There we go. All right.
So snipe hunting, as I grew up, it was where the older boys in any organization that you're in got some of the younger boys and told them that they were going to go snipe hunting. And so usually this happened at night on camp out or... Yeah. So
maybe like a retreat.
Retreat.
You're staying in the cabins, but you're out in the middle of nowhere.
And so the older boys would get together and say, we're going snipe hunting. The younger boys would, of course, want to go. And then you would lead them out into the woods. And then suddenly the older boys the younger boys were equipped with pillowcases or some type of sack.
Yeah.
A gunny, like a burlap sack or a pillowcase or whatever.
Yeah.
Trash bag. Everybody had flashlights. And so you go out into the woods, and then the older boys would immediately start seeing snipe signs or hearing snipe.
Okay.
And they would send the younger boys out to chase these snipe down. So if you hadn't caught on yet, there is no snipe. Now, there is an actual bird, I think, that's called a snipe.
Yeah, there is a bird called a snipe.
But in this case, you were not hunting anything real. You just had the boys thinking they were hunting something, and they're running all out through the woods trying to find these things. And usually you did it to scare them or just pick on them.
It felt real.
It felt real.
Another thing you could do is you could plant the older people kind of hiding in the woods, and you'd send them off walking, looking for something, and then out of the pile of leaves comes somebody to scare them.
And usually some of the boys would see a snipe, like the younger boys, they would start seeing them or hearing them and all this kind of stuff. And then everybody'd have a big laugh. And so that was snipe. That's snipe hunting.
Right.
And then there's cow tipping.
Yeah.
Well, snipe hunting, so snipe hunting actually happens.
Right.
It's a rite of passage.
That's right.
Everybody's been on, not everybody, but most of us have been on a snipe hunt at some point. On both sides.
That's right. And the other thing, so to go along with that, is the smoke shifter.
What's that?
So you're at a camp. Usually you're at a big campsite, right, or a campground, right? And you're with somebody who's never been camping before.
Yeah.
And you know how you're sitting around a campfire, and usually, you're on the one side where the smoke is always blowing towards you.
Yes.
And even though you move, for some reason the smoke follows you.
Yes.
And eventually you get disgusted. And you turn to the new camper and say, man, I forgot my smoke shifter.
Yep.
You're like, what's a smoke shifter? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's this device you put over the campfire, and it shifts the smoke in the direction where there are no people.
Yes.
It's what you need.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, I'm left-handed.
So you need a left-handed smoke shifter.
I need a left-handed. So you ask the new camper, would you go check to maybe the neighboring campsite? If we can borrow theirs, because ours, we seem to have our breeze, our fire is extra smoky. Yeah. Maybe they have an extra one lying around.
Right.
Now the thing is, that campsite knows about the left-handed smoke shifter joke.
Right.
Their response is, oh, you know what? I don't have an extra one, but I think the guys over at campsite number 113, they might have one.
Right.
So the new camper goes over to 113, asks them for a left-handed smoke shifter.
Right.
That's code.
Yeah.
The code is new camper.
Yep.
Well, I don't think I have one, but over on the B loop,
right,
they've got plenty.
They've got a brand new one, still in the box. Yes. Yeah, so you send the new camper. And this happened, my dad told the story about this happening in the Navy, where you'd get the new guy and you would send him up to the bridge where where the captain's at.
This don't sound... So maybe the title of this one is That Don't Sound Good.
That don't sound good. And you would send him up there with a grease gun to grease the main bearing.
This is like... Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Grease the main bearing.
So all of a sudden you got this new guy walking up on the bridge with a grease gun wanting to grease the main bearing. Now, the main bearing is the ship, the direction the ship is going in, and requires no grease. So, in college...
And the captain would know all about this.
The captain would say,
and there'd be some hazing that goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And son, please go back below decks. Do not come here again. And then everybody, So then there's cow tipping. Now, cow tipping...
This is the debatable one.
Right. So we've just given you three solid examples of where somebody who's in the know messes with somebody who's not in the know.
Strictly a prank.
But cow tipping has always been taught to me as like, we're going cow tipping.
Yeah. Okay. That is a thing. It's a convincing argument.
It's a very convincing.
What's the argument, Cecil?
And people say that I have been cow tipping.
Right.
I went cow tipping and we went out and we tipped cows and they fall over and they can't get back up and the farmer has to deal with it the next day.
Or even worse, the cow gets injured.
The cow gets injured.
That's why we don't go.
I'm here to say that cow tipping, no one has ever been cow tipping.
I don't think it's possible.
I don't think you tip a cow. I think this is just something people talk about in college that never actually occurs, especially a college that might be in a rural area.
Which you went to?
Absolutely, I went to Campbell University, Bowie's Creek, North Carolina.
Is that in a rural area?
That's in a very rural area.
Okay, all right, okay.
Extremely rural.
Did you believe cow tipping was true?
100%. I felt like when I graduated from pharmacy school, so I had plenty of education at this point, that I had somehow missed this rite of passage. I never went cow tipping.
So
there were many trips planned.
Yeah.
None were ever implemented.
So I'm right with you. I feel like I believed cow tipping was a thing. Logically, the cow is top heavy.
Yes.
It's asleep.
Yes.
Completely asleep. Doesn't take much to rock that thing off balance and for it to flop over. But when you really think about it, that don't sound right.
That don't sound right. Because I have been surrounded by cows, and you can push on them pretty heavy, and they don't. It's not like they stumble,
right,
or lose their footing.
Wait, where have you stumbled through cows before?
Well, the Appalachian Trail passes through private land at different points, and so there have been times where we've crossed into fields, and suddenly you're in a herd of cows.
Oh, okay.
So you've
I've never had that happen to me.
Push your way through them, or and because they're not necessarily moving. Sometimes they move away from you. Sometimes they don't. But sometimes you push through them.
Here's something that don't sound right. when I was a co-op student, so a co-op is when you're working for a semester and then going to school for a semester, and you kind of alternate that.
Yeah.
2 semesters, I worked at a nuclear power plant in the middle of nowhere.
Huh.
Where did I stay? I stayed in a camper trailer on a beef cattle ranch, surrounded by cows.
Your trailer?
No, it wasn't my trailer. It was for the farm help. But he didn't need any help at the time, so I rented his trailer from him.
Okay.
So I could have a place to live close to the power plant. It was in the middle of nowhere, Virginia.
Yeah.
So here I am living in a beef cattle ranch, and I never go cow tipping.
Were you ever around the cows?
Oh, I was around cows all the time.
None of them seemed unsteady, did they?
I didn't see anyone sleeping. That's the thing. Do they really sleep standing up?
I don't think they sleep standing up. I've seen plenty of cows laying down.
What's the myth about a cow
Standing up and sleeping?
and no sitting down?
I don't know. What is it?
Something to do with the weather. You see cows on the ground?
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Yeah. Well, and this leads into a whole other discussion. You're right. But so what I've heard, the way I've heard
At this point, I'm really hoping some phones are flying through car windows right now. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, we've probably divided people into 2 camps. People that are going to call us or write us and tell us they have absolutely been cow tipping.
I want to hear it.
And they have tipped over cows.
I want to hear it. Because
then there'll be the other camp.
If we don't get response from the dozens of listeners that we have every week,
yes,
that at least one of them's been cow tipping, I think we've proved that cow tipping is not a thing.
We nail the coffin shut and say that cow tipping is not a real thing.
Now, I hope I haven't ruined it for anybody.
The joke?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, you mean like by telling them this?
That's right.
Well, we've ruined snipe hunting, and
that's
of course
true.
At this point, if you're listening to our podcast, you're probably older. You're probably not like 6 or 7 years old, but we do have some younger listeners.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Well, if you're a younger listener and somebody's trying to get you to go snipe hunting,
yes, we've just made you smarter.
Yeah,
we've just made you smarter.
Just made you smarter,
and we've given you some things to do on your next camping trip.
That's right. So we did a version of this one time. We came up on this couple. It was an odd couple. It was a guy and his sister-in-law were backpacking together, which just seemed a little odd. The other thing they did is they set up.
Wait, come again?
It was a dude
and his sister-in-law.
And his sister-in-law. So his wife's sister and him were backpacking.
Okay.
Now they were in separate tents, but they set their tents up in the shelter. It was a big shelter platform. Okay. She was a new backpacker.
Oh, okay.
She was very afraid of snakes. So I told her.
No blame. No blame in there.
No blame in there.
No judgment.
But we were sitting around the fire. It was me and the buddy I was backpacking with. He was the one that was probably very interested in the DF.
Okay, all right.
And so it's this dude and his sister-in-law. And she gets up to go to the bathroom, and I tell her that if she makes a high-pitched noise as she walks, that snakes can't stand that, and they'll move away from her. And so she, she's halfway bought in, but as she moves up into the woods to go to the bathroom, I begin to hear her going, yee! But anyways, back to the
well, there's another, maybe that's another story you can use. So here's another one you can use, right? Yeah. So what do you do when you're in bear country?
You whistle.
You whistle, you make some kind of noise.
Yeah.
You might just say something like, hey, bear.
That's right.
Hey, bear.
Yeah, that's what they tell you to do, is say, hey, bear.
Well, you can do the same thing with snakes.
Oh, snake. Say, hey, snake.
Hey, snake. Hey, snake. There's someone very special in my life who's laughing at this right now.
The hey, snake thing.
Hey, snake.
But, so I think we've got to have more research on the cow tipping thing.
Well, if like I say, if no one from our listenership says they've been cow tipping, I think we have enough data to say it's not a thing. We didn't miss out on anything.
We didn't miss out on anything.
Right.
Yeah. And so probably what we did miss out on is somebody takes somebody out cow tipping and then sends them out into the field to tip the cow, and then they drive off. I bet you that is true cow tipping.
That's probably what it is. And I feel like that's also snipe hunting, right?
That is snipe hunting.
You take all the kids out, and all of a sudden you turn off your flashlights and you kind of disappear. And now they're all by themselves.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Where's everybody?
That's
the other thing, right?
Yeah, I forgot about that piece of snipe hunting. Yeah, leaving somebody in the woods. That's a lot of fun.
Where'd you guys go?
that's why we're all traumatized at this point in our life, is for things just like that we used to do growing up.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's why we missed it. Is hopefully we were too smart for someone to drive us out into a field and say, walk out to the field, and we would walk out there unaccompanied.
Yes, maybe so.
But
maybe,
I bet you
maybe all that pharmacy school really paid off.
Maybe it did, yeah. Now that I think about it, I bet we've cracked the cow tipping code. So I wonder if college students now still do that, or if they have something else they do.
Yeah,
if there's some other rite of passage.
Right. Like if you go to a school that's in the city, like Emily does, she's in Richmond, downtown Richmond. What do they do down there?
The equivalent.
They're not going to go cow tipping.
No. Is there an equivalent of that? Of course, now you have to be so careful because you don't want to haze anybody. But so I guess this would be
a
mild form of hazing.
I don't watch Alabama Rush myself. This is this. Are you familiar with this, right?
Yeah. So this is taking over my Instagram feed. All these. It's a thing. Like they have these dances where they, or I guess, are trying to get people to come to their rush or something like that.
I do not know.
Yeah,
but I imagine there's something that they do within these initiations.
Absolutely, I would say.
I'm sure there's something going on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm sure it's been on Alabama Rush. So maybe one of our daughters could help us with this one.
Well, and it happens in the trades. We mentioned at the top of the show the counter stretcher. So you send the new guy out to the truck for the counter stretcher because the counter's too short.
Okay, all right.
And so you want to stretch the counter. So there's something. There's always something in. I can't think of an equivalent in pharmacy where we send
because you could kill somebody.
Right. Yeah, that's probably it.
Let's not do any pharmacist hazing. All right.
Pharmacist hazing.
Hey, try this.
Do you do anything with like the young engineers that come on? Do you have them?
The young engineers.
You don't send them to grease the main bearing on the. So maybe that's the other thing the listeners can do is send in the innocent rites of passage that you had to do for whatever organization or whatever profession you were in.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So if you didn't go to cow tipping, what did you have someone do, or what did they do to you?
So just to recap, left-handed smoke shifter.
Not a thing.
Snipe hunting.
Is a thing, but you don't really hunt for snipes. They're small little birds.
That's right. And cow tipping, we think, is not a thing. If it was, it escaped us. What else do we talk about?
Grease the main
bearing. That's right.
Not a thing.
Yeah, counter stretcher.
Counter stretcher, not a thing.
Yeah. So be on guard.
We did talk about this in our prior episode about auto repair shops trying to get you right, but that's more of taking advantage of somebody.
Taking advantage of somebody that doesn't know about cars. That's just illegal.
But I mean, I could say, hey, would you go to the auto parts store and buy me some blinker fluid?
Yes.
We're running low.
Oh yeah. If you were going to
what?
Have them go up and ask for.
So you would go to one auto parts store, and if they were in the know, they would say, "Oh, we're out.
Right.
Go over to the country club store.
Right.
We're out. You need to go to Clemens.
Yeah.
I think we're out. Why don't you head on over to Statesville?
I just checked the computer. Statesville store's got it. Go down to the Statesville store. Well, it doesn't sound right, but you have reached the end of another. That don't sound right.
Hey, before we close, we want to thank everyone for listening. If this is your first time and you enjoyed the conversation, would you consider hitting the subscribe button on the platform where you listen? Also, think about leaving us a review or giving us a rating.
And we do read all the emails.
We do.
We don't do it necessarily in a timely fashion, but we do read all the emails.
And what I'm doing now is on the website. If you send an email, I will put your email. I'll edit it and clean it up a little. Especially if it's email you don't like, where you don't like what we said. I'll put your email on there as listener response. So, and I don't put your name there. But if you do email us and you don't mind me using your name in the response, let me know and I'll include it.
So I got some great comments back on the Haint Blue.
Oh, did you?
I got that.
I haven't heard about the Haint Blue.
And I got some back on the ducks.
The ducks.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, mostly those were just confirmations that, yes, this is a thing.
Okay.
Here's how it happens. But there was, someone told me that they definitely used paint blue, but there were many hues of paint blue.
Yeah, there are. One of them even looks green. I mean, this green that you have in here.
Yeah.
This is close to a haint blue that I've seen in the Sherwood-Williams book.
I sent you a picture of our blue canopy outside of my workplace that was covered in spiders.
Yeah, that wasn't haint blue. Did anyone mention about their haint blue working with spiders?
Mm-mm.
No,
I haven't gotten a response on that. But rest assured, we read all your messages. We may send back a 1-word or 2-word response. But they will get on the air eventually in one of our mailbag episodes.
That's right, and they are making their way to the website. So check out the website. It's thatdon'tsoundright.com. Don't put an apostrophe; it'll mess everything up.
And our advertiser is Wonderfully Made Designs, and that's a small business that specializes in custom-made T-shirts and decals. Contact Casey on Facebook at Wonderfully Made Designs 139.14. Use code TDSR10 for 10% off your first order. All right. That Don't Sound Right is a production of TDSR Podcast in conjunction with Campbell City Studios. I am your co-host and sound engineer. Peter's your other host and the web designer. And you need to go to the website because you've done a good job on that.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Camille is our occasional barista. Emily is our graphic designer who is actually in graphic design school.
She's right there.
Ella is our Instagram curator. Giorgio tests our merchandise. Brent is our international brand ambassador. And as always, listener number 1 is
Scott.
All right, so until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.